Alright, so drinking Green Flash's Double Stout at 8.8% and 45 IBUs. May as well hit that again. I'll put a link down in the description to the review. Just on that, we'll review it as we review this guitar and as we string her up. So I got this at the music shop, and I'm like, just trying out a pedal, like just kill some time, just fucking around. You know, I didn't even need strings. I was like stacked up on the Roto Sound 11s. Pretty nice. I need some heavier tops, so this is only 48 on the 6. But so we're gonna drop on another string. You know what I'm saying? And talk about this guitar. So price I got is $200. Okay, like I'm old school, so like when I was younger buying guitars, like you know back in the day, you could not even buy a used guitar for $200. Like it would have been pretty unheard of. You know, it would have to be like a really shitty guitar. So a brand new Kramer, which from what I remember, is supposed to be a somewhat okay guitar. You know what I mean? But so I see $200 in the price tag. I'm humming and hawing about it, so the guy knows I'm kind of interested in it. Probably pretty good salesman, I guess, you know. But so I'm looking it over, so they know I sort of know what I'm talking about, you know. Looking at the guitar, and then offers me $175. Okay, what the fuck's up? $175, brand new fucking Kramer on the shelf with this fucking crazy ass flame paint job. But look at it. It looks pretty sick, right? It looks like a pretty fucking wild guitar. So what I noticed is I'm having a lot of trouble intonating this, at least the E and the A string. I believe the bridge should maybe be put back here a little bit, so that's kind of pissing me off. Neck straight as an arrow. Nice level frets, like no buzzing, that kind of thing. Neck's fucking bang on straight. Like the headstock design. Don't like the neck profile. I knew that going into it. And I'm not a fan of the Fender style bridge. I'm a sort of a Gibson person, Gibson knockoff person. I don't buy name brand Gibsons. I think they're way overpriced. But so I said, well, fuck it, you know. $175 for a brand new Kramer. Electronics seemed to work and everything, so I picked it up. Wasn't expecting that to do that at all. Wasn't on my agenda or anything. But I was like, that'd be crazy, you know. That's a pretty good deal. So the bridge thing pissed me off. I mean, the intonation's not out a ton. It's out a little bit, you know. But I bought this because my SG does not intonate well, because it has a huge fucking bow in the neck. Alright, so and the frets are fucked. You know, I can straighten the neck, but then it buzzes like a motherfucker, right? So, okay, so here's how I string up a guitar. In case you all are wondering, get your tuning peg to be a little bit more like more than 90 degrees facing away from you. So when you pull the string, it doesn't come back on you, obviously. Get at least like that much string up on your git, and then you can pull tight. It'll kink, keep tension on it, and start to twist your machine head. Take the other part of the string, bend it straight up. No interference there. Start getting it fucking on there. Now, do not rest it in the nut, especially on your wall strings. You don't want to file your nut down. Now, these string ferrules fucking fall out on this guitar when you're pulling the strings out. So be aware. They could have put a dab of epoxy at each string ferrule, but they did not. So just a tiny little dab, just like, you know, so you could remove it if you gave it a good whack with something. But you know, so it's not falling out. Because if you don't have those things and you put the string, you're gonna fuck your guitar up. I guarantee it. And so I'm down with a flashlight trying to find these string ferrules. I had no idea. You know, I'm just the victim here. Okay, now I noticed just before I bought it that the ebony has shrank. All right, big time. So that it was not kiln dried properly, or this may have been stored in a more humid location, which is very possible, seeing as I live in a semi-arid desert. Guitars from out east that come this way shrink back in big time. So the frets pop out the side like a cheese grater sometimes. Now, if they come straight from the factory to here, it's not an issue, because I believe that the wood should be kiln dried enough by the time they build it or whatever. However they have their factory set up, it's usually fine. But this fretboard, the piece of ebony on the fretboard was not fine. It's split. It hasn't affected the frets in any way. The frets are still really good, just along the side, and I'll show you that in a second. The damage from that. The neck is not bolted on straight. I'll also show you that. Other than that, though, pretty good deal for $175, brand fucking new. Up here, so I put lots of wounds on the non-wound strings. You know, lots of wounds on the peg. There we go. We're just about there. Now I'm going to show you an awesome fucking trick for getting your guitar not to go out of tune. So, okay, you take your guitar here like this, and you pull it on these strings, like wiggle them. You know, it works a little bit better on the wound strings, really, but you know, really wiggle the fuck out of them like that. Pull up like that on them, you know what I mean? You're basically pre-stretching these bitches, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want that happening while you're playing it. That's a fucking killer trick. I learned from some Aussie virtuoso victim of the 90s there, a pretty good player, and he'd do this. He put on new strings before every show. I think he was an acoustic guy. I can't remember his name though, but he has a video on that, or someone has a video of him teaching all about this. Okay, so that's basically the rundown on the Git. I'm not liking the way the pickups sound. Like they're good. I can get the crunch out of it I want. But what I looked at this towards is a cheap guitar with a nice flat neck, and if I get really frustrated with at a show, I can smash it and light it on fire, or you know, because I'm not big on the neck profile. I'm not big on how the bridge is, and I was just like, fuck, you know, I could resell this, you know, to somebody and make $100, almost kind of thing. A cool paint job, 175, and I was kind of like, you know, throw some P90 Fat Cats in this motherfucker, tear out the wiring, put like real nice wires in there, a nice good input jack, all that shit, and have a fucking screamer, you know what I mean? But as for the Kramer, I mean, this is supposedly like a $450 new, $500 new, so like one of their lower end guitars, but since it's fucked, I got it for next to nothing. But I'll show you the splits in the ebony, right? Okay, so alright, where are we here? So there they are. You start to see them there. Kind of spider webbed. You can see how that ebony's really shrunk after they built this, after they fretted this guitar. See, the frets have held because they have tangs or whatever you want to call them. So it's hard to see with the camera, but down here you can really see the splits. You can see one just under that fret. It's worse in person, and you can see a split here. It's quite bad in there and there. And so certain locations on the fretboard are worse than others. There's one there. There's one there. Down there. Quite bad down there. It has not affected the level of the frets as far as I can tell. See some more splits. That's an ebony fretboard though. And I'm like, you know, ebony, you know, like I say, that's a $90 piece of wood up here. Just if I went to the non-wholesale store, it would be $90 for a piece of ebony. Maybe a little bit thicker than this that you would typically use for a guitar fretboard. Really cool fret markers. I really like the way they look. So I'm going to oil the fuck out of this fretboard, see if I can get some to swell back up again. There might be a few things I might try and crush that back together with a bit of wood glue in the splits if I can get it in there. Maybe clamp it back together and start oiling this bitch. Yeah, I'm plugging the Rotosound pure nickel. Anything that's pure nickel really, whether it's Dunlop or whatever. I'm typically a fan of the solid pure nickel strings. They don't seem to ever wear out until you break one, and you get a little bit hard to get used to playing on the lead strings. But typically, I just like the tone I get out of them. It's much more alive and bright, much more vintage sounding, like 60s sounding stuff. As for this beer, it's fucking awesome. Highly recommend that. So I'll put a link down in the description of this beer if you want to check that beer out. And yeah, and the neck is not quarter sawn, of course. It's totally fucking horizontal on the neck. So you might look at that and say, oh, that's inconsistent grain width. But I think that's just the way that it, because the curvature, because it is not quarter sawn, it's not going to be. You got to remember that the wood grains are going this way. So when that's rounded like that, it's going to look like a super wide thing, and you think, oh wow, it's really going to work bad because the grain's inconsistent width and it's going to expand and contract at different rates. No, because it's not quarter sawn. If it was quarter sawn, it was like that, you'd be like, yeah. So you actually have to look at the headstock, which is cut with a scarf joint, and the grain looks fairly consistent on it that way. So that's a little trick there. Just giving you a rundown on the Git shit. Anyway, not super exciting, but that's the Kramer shit. As far as I'm learning about the Kramer shit today. Beerzerker. Watch these fucking cheap ass guitars, but I recommend buying these cheap bitches, throw nice pickups in them. I mean, this, if you're into low frets, thin necks, and Fender style bridges, this would have been a fucking killer score for you. It's still a killer score for me. I'm still going to play it anyway, even though I prefer, let's say, a Gibson, like a Les Paul Special knockoff with a nice big fat round neck, Tunematic bridge, and P90s in it. But I was thinking fat catting this bitch up and blowing people's fucking gourds with it, because I'll make this fucker scream. And I'm out. Yeah!